with the complementary component of play. Oftentimes, we have those discussions hand in hand because they're significant. And what I mean is, obviously, we turn the ball over some. We turn the ball over in the red area. It cost us potentially 7 points, but then Baltimore supported that by putting together a 90-plus yard drive and scoring. In the second half, we intercepted a ball. Mika Fitzpatrick intercepted the ball in the red area, and then we didn't follow that turnover up with complementary offense. As a matter of fact, we threw a pick six on the other side of it. And so the turnover game was big. I think there were several balls on the ground that we weren't able to get on, that they had on the ground that we weren't able to get on. And obviously the one ball that we put on the ground, they did get on. And so the turnover game was big. The complementary component of the turnover game was big, whether you're talking about an offense backing up a turnover with a score, or a defense backing up a turnover with a stop. We didn't win that component of the game, and oftentimes those elements shape the outcome of football games. I think you couple that with our inability to control the run throughout, and you get the end result. Our inability to control the run created advantageous possession down moments for them, or a lack thereof. They possessed the ball. And so, those are some things that obviously have our attention as we review and quickly transition to get ready to Kansas City. From a health standpoint, I'll outline some things. Some guys that didn't play yesterday who have a real chance this week: Justin Fields, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Jackson, George Pickens, and Larry Ogunjobi all have an opportunity to play this week. But again, we'll see where the week leads us from their inclusion. The two guys that didn't finish yesterday's game, Joey Porter with a knee and Ben Skoranek with a hip, their availability remains questionable. I just don't have a lot of new information on those guys, given that we just played last night, and we're still in the process of assessing the state of some of those things. But anybody that didn't make it out of the stadium yesterday on a four-day turnaround is probably going to have a difficult time showing for this one. I'll quickly outline Kansas City. When I look at them, I'll start first with their defense. Spags has been there a long time. It's got real good continuity in core players and chief assistants. David Merritt, the secondary coach, for example, has been there a long time. Chris Jones up front. Bolton now and Tranquil have been a tandem for a number of years. You feel the continuity when you watch them play. They're a big pressure group. I think they're second in the NFL in terms of the amount of pressure, meaning 5 or more people on possession downs, and that shows on their tape. They're highly coordinated. They do a really good job of pre-snap looks and disguises on the back end and tying some of those things together. They do a really nice job of moving Chris Jones around and making you work to identify where he is, whether it's inside or outside, or on the right side of the defense or on the left side of the does an awesome job in the blitz game. They mix them up. It makes them a tough nut to crack. Man, they play really good situational football. They keep a lid on in those moments. They do a good job of containing and constricting and getting after the quarterback. They play well as a collective. They play a lot of people in the secondary. They play people that have position flexibility. McDuffie, can't say enough about him. He plays on the edge, outside, but he also plays in at nickel. He's capable of matching significant receivers. Those guys are capable of playing off that as well. And as I mentioned with Reed earlier being a good blitzer, he's a safety by trade, but oftentimes he plays down in what could be described as a dime linebacker position on possession down or in one-dimensional passing moments. And it just adds a lot of layers to their pressure packages. On the offensive side of the ball, obviously, Coach Reed and Mahomes, man, have been together for a long time, and you can throw Travis Kelce, obviously, in that discussion as well, and you really feel that continuity when you watch it on their side of the ball. Out of that continuity, You're talking about a guy who's in complete command of his offense and knows where all age on these play extensions in terms of finding open space and creating big plays without the potential for negativity. As I mentioned, the standpoint, they've had some issues, some with protection at times, and had some lineup changes up front. And man, he's done an awesome job in terms of working his way out and chipping his way out in some one-dimensional passing circumstances. And that's another reason why I'm really impressed with the unselfishness of his play. They spread the ball around to a lot of eligibles, and they've had a lot of eligibles over the course of the season. Looking at their tape, man, they've had some guys at the receiver position get on the train later in the process. You know, Juju was a reacquisition. D-Hop was a late acquisition. Hollywood Brown has just been activated last week for the first time, and I think he caught 5 balls yesterday. They do a really nice job of staying a step ahead of the posse by spreading the ball around to all their eligibles, and all of those guys play a lot. I think they dressed 6 receivers yesterday, and 5 of them played significant roles, and I think that's just reflective of them week in and week out. They play a lot of people. They have a diverse attack. It makes them a tough nut to crack in terms of their ability to utilize all of those people and be inclusive in terms of how they distribute the ball. Certainly, they have some guys that are routinely involved in their assault. Worthy, can't say enough about him. As a young guy, he consistently makes plays week in and week out and is a splash playmaker for him. You see some schematic things that they do to highlight his talents, his speed. He's run some reverses. He'll take the top off of coverage in terms of stretching things down the field. Obviously, the acquisition or the return of Hollywood Brown gives him another guy that's down the field in that way. Juju's a tough guy. Oftentimes, he's a point of attack type of a guy in the run game, as is Watson. And so they got a nice, diverse, and deep division of labor among their eligibles. And behind the sticks of it all, obviously, is Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, man. And there's a reason why they're pursuing their 3rd straight championship. You see it when you watch their video. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how solid and competitive they are in special teams. This is a 3-phase outfit, and that's why they're 14-1. They've been in a lot of close ball games, but good teams find a way to win those games, and they've done so really consistently. And I just think it reflects who they are. And so we're working on a short week, but we're working with an edge. We're honored and excited about competing on Christmas and being a part of that. But we're also excited about being in a big game against a really good team in our home venue and getting back to the business. And obviously our business is winning. And so that's where our focus is in terms of preparing ourselves and positioning ourselves to do that on Wednesday. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Mike, how much of what's going on with your defense is a result of being stressed by this diverse, multiple, explosive offense, and how much are cap integrity, missed assignments?
You know, it's probably a combination of all the above. When you got some quarterback mobility and some of these diverse attacks that you see, it stresses you. And in some instances, we're playing some guys in some different spots because of the lack of Deshaun Elliott, and that creates some complexities to already a complex discussion in terms of the gap integrity and the tackling and the communication around some of those attacks. But we should be better this time of year. You know, I was really displeased with the 2 red zone touchdowns, for example, to the tight ends. It's just too late in the year to have guys running open like that, to be quite honest with you. And so we got some work to do this week in terms of shoring some of that up. Your ability to make people settle for field goals is significant this time of year, particularly when it's good on good. Our inability to do that, coupled with the turnover and complimentary discussion that I opened this session up with, is the reason why the score was the way it was.
Part of the issue trying to get off the field on defense, maybe less about what you're doing on 3rd downs and more about getting to more 3rd and longs, like not winning 1st and 2nd down enough, and how does that play against the home team?
Certainly, that's what I was talking about when I was talking about the impact of the big runner. He controlled the game. We didn't control it enough, and oftentimes it controlled the nature of those possession downs or the number of those possession downs, and it allowed them to possess the ball. You know, that's exclusive to Baltimore. Certainly those issues could rear themselves again this week. But specifically as it pertains to the last game, that's something that's exclusive to Baltimore in terms of how they build their attack and how they work to engineer victory. And we'll have a different set of problems this week.
But Kansas City's not been as, their record's impressive. They've played a lot of close games, more close games than they have in the past. Does this look like the same Chiefs team to you, or are they warming up into being that kind of dominant team that how do you sort of see them as where they
I guess I don't know how dominant they need to be. I mean, they're 14-1. This is the ultimate parity league. Often these games come down to one scores, and the good teams find a way to get out of stadiums, and they usually find a way to get out of stadiums with great consistency, and they've done that. And so, they're 14-1. They're two-time defending world champs. I see them in that regard, and I'm preparing with that edge.
A couple guys mentioned after the game that they felt like they weren't physical enough. Tackling was an issue again. How do you remedy that at this point in the season on a short week?
Back to the lab.
Mike, what have you seen from Corey Trice, and what do you tell a young quarterback in this type of situation against a guy like Mahomes?
Corey's done a nice job in practice, and he did a nice job yesterday when given an opportunity to get back on the moving train, and he has done so earlier in the year. And so, I expect more of the same from him. In terms of competing against a guy like Mahomes, he better just focus on his fundamentals and his game. He doesn't have enough of a resume to get over preoccupied with what Mahomes is doing. He needs to focus on his game and his quality of play, his eyes, his techniques, his fundamentals, and I'm sure that he will.
Like when you say back to the lab in terms of working on physicality and tackling, is it a mindset issue or a technique issue?
No, there's so much that you can do around tackling, and I've covered this with you guys a bunch. You don't necessarily need pads on to improve tackling or to work at it. You work on the approach. You work on the positioning. You work on awareness of others, gap responsibility. And so when I say back to the lab, it's all encompassing on fundamental things that may not be tackling directly, but really tee up tackling.
We talked about guys needing to trust each other more on defense as far as not trying to step outside of your role to help someone else that you think needs help. Was that a big part of what you saw happen yesterday in some of those red zone possessions? And how do you correct it?
I think that's always the case when you're missing some people. And we were missing some people yesterday, people trying to do too much, creating issues in terms of communication or lack of fluidity. We just got to be on it. We got to take care of our responsibilities and trust that others are doing the same.
On that note, how much more difficult is it to get some of those injured guys back when you have this short week and not as much chance to see them?
Again, it's about their health. There's not going to be a lot of physical opportunity for anybody to display readiness this week on a short week. And so it's really about them getting a clean bill of health and us being able to forecast the amount of snaps that they can take from a conditioning perspective or a health perspective.
Did you anticipate George missing this much time when it first happened?
I did not.
If you do get him back, what does his inclusion do for the offense? How does it make a change?
I think it's self-explanatory. He is a splash playmaker. He's a one-on-one playmaker. Oftentimes he controls schematics, which creates one-on-ones for others or a light box regarding the run. But that's what talented outside people do. Not only George, but anybody that has talented outside people worthy will do some of the same things to us.
With his talent on the outside not being there, have you seen more of an increased attention on the fryer over the middle as a result?
I think his lack of presence gives people a lot of options, whether or not they choose to focus it on Freiermuth or others or load the run box. It's up to them in terms of their judgment.
You got the chance to meet with Russell Wilson this morning, post game going over the play this week, and how have you seen him handle the short week against such a big opponent?
I have not.
He was pretty tough on himself after the game yesterday, Mike. And that was his first more than a year, that more than one turnover off for the first time for you. How excited are you to see how a vet like that responds?
I expect him to respond. He's been doing this a long time, and he's tough on himself because he's got a desire to be great. He wants to lead us to victory, and he owns that. But I don't expect it to be an issue in terms of the trajectory of his approach or readiness this week.
Anyone else? Jalen Warren was used more than Najee yesterday. Was that matchup specific, or was there something that Jalen was just doing better in that?
It probably was just the flow of the game. We had every intentions of being inclusive and utilizing all our backs. not only yesterday, but because we're on a short turnaround and we got another game coming. And so we wanted to use all three guys. And really, Jalen got a heck of a lot more than the others, just based on kind of some game circumstances when he was in and the general flow of the game.
What did you want to go for it on that 4th and 6 yesterday? Just let the field position.
I liked the positioning of where we were. I had a feel of what they might be in, and so we felt comfortable with the concept that we had.
You've said to us many times you like playing with people. Hard Knocks right now. You say I like playing with people. We're playing the Super Bowl champions now. So in addition to what this means for the standings, how important is it for your team to play well and maybe beat this caliber of team going into the playoffs?
It's not maybe beat for us. We're preparing to win the game. There's growth in wins and experiences, and obviously those experiences are fruitful ones when you play really good people. And so we respect these guys, and we understand that they're the standard, and so we're working toward it in an effort to win this week.
Mike, in regard to Farley, you need to get the ball to him more, target him more, because really for most games, it's never more than 3 targets.
You know, he's a capable guy, but again, we spread the ball around, and oftentimes where we throw the ball or how we distribute the ball is dictated by some of the schematics of others. And I just think that that's the strength of any collective. Like I was talking about with Kansas City, Kelce probably doesn't have the numbers that people are used to seeing him have, but they're 14-1, and he's doing a lot of really good things without the football. And he's playing a well-rounded game, an unselfish game. He's rubbing for people in man-to-man circumstances. He's chipping his way out in one-dimensional passing circumstances. And so stats don't oftentimes tell the story, and I think the same thing can be said for us and for our move.
You said you liked the look you got on 4th down, which was a clean ball to Calvin Austin back-to-back at 565 with George out. How have you seen Calvin step into that role, a greater role with George out, and his impression?
You know, Calvin's evolution has nothing to do with the availability or the lack of availability of others, man. He's just a guy that's stepping forward with each and every opportunity. His experience is starting to show. He's got a feel for the game. He's competitive. He's playing fast, and it's reasonable to expect that to continue.
Mike, I'm guessing in retrospect, you probably wish he had, but do you have any problem with Russ trying to score on that play?
You're right. In retrospect, I wish he hadn't.
Deontay Johnson is expected to be available on waivers this week. Do you anticipate having any interest in bringing him back?
I have nothing to add about somebody that's not in our football team right now.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you.
That's head coach Mike Tomlin. We welcome in Missy Matthews. And Missy, you were there yesterday. It was a game of mistakes, obviously, but we talk about the ones that tangibly you see, the Russell Wilson fumble and also the interception, the pick six, but there were so many other little things. They couldn't come up with fumbles that were on the ground. How many missed tackles? 8 in the first half. They had a lot in this game. And their defense is designed to keep the play in front of you and make tackles, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah, I think, obviously injuries played a role in it, not using it as an excuse, but Deshaun Elliott has been one of those guys that plays every down. He's a vocal leader. He kind of can be the glue with Patrick Queen in terms of setting the defense. Joey Porter went out of the game, came back in, then he was out again. So there was a lot, not having Dante Jackson, missing his first game. It was a lot, but it did feel like, Alex Highsmith was able to get the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands. The Steelers don't come up with it. Just little things like that. If maybe one of those would have went the right way, maybe it changed the outcome. But I think especially after Mika Fitzpatrick's interception and then Russ throwing the pick six, that's where the momentum really, really shifted in their favor.
Yeah, and also that 14-point swing. After this, one thing to fumble, when Russell Wilson did. I mean, I understand what he was trying to do, but, he's been around a long time. I expected a slide, first and goal, and let's go from there. But then 96-yard response drive after that just changed everything. It was a 14-point swing.
Yeah, the complementary football that we're used to seeing from the Steelers offense and defense, definitely not there. And I think, it was the second game during this 3 games and 11-day stretch. It's not going to get any easier. The only good news is this week, the Steelers don't have to go on the road. But that one was hard just because Russ got the first down, and if he would have just went down and didn't try to get the touchdown, I'm hopeful that they would have scored 7.
Yeah, I think they were. They were moving the football. It seemed a lot at that point. But bottom line, the mistakes hurt them, and they lose 34-17. And yes, now we're in another one of these short weeks, short weeks, just like it was early in the season. They played Baltimore and head-to-head to Cleveland. The process, the only good thing is it's a home game as opposed to a road, so that alleviates one of the travel days you might have there. But, I mean, it's a tough assignment, isn't it? No matter who you play, really, to turn it around and 3 days later basically play another game.
Yeah, and I think because you were on a short week last week, not as short, but you had to play on Saturday coming off of a 4:25 Sunday game in Philadelphia, getting back. And I just think I know what my body feels like from it. I didn't play in the game, so I can imagine what the players are going to have to go through just to recover, rest, but then also prepare to play again, knowing that they really need to win these last 2 games if they want to claim the AFC North.
And that's what it would take. They're still in the driver's seat. 2 wins, they're in, and if not, it opens the door to Baltimore. But Baltimore has to also win and hope the Steelers lose once. So we have a lot to go over here, not just looking back at that game yesterday and some of the pivotal moments, but also the Kansas City Chiefs at 14-1. You may think they're unimpressive sometimes in winning, but they know how to win, and they keep winning, and they're trying to go for something that's never happened before. That's 3 straight championships in a row. We'll talk about that and more as we continue right here on a Mike Tomlin press conference. Sunday, not Tuesday, not Monday. It's a Sunday, and we're still trying to get our body clocks trying to figure out what day this is on a holiday week as well. We'll be back with more as we continue live right here from the South Side.
Our fans are here. Give them something to cheer about today.
And here's the roar of the crowd at Acrisure Stadium.
This is what it's all about. You've got this whole place rocking.
Picked off, touchdown, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, the crowd is loving it. I can't even believe that I just saw what I saw.
T.J. Watt with a sack.
Sensational.
Russ, what happened on the play where you fumbled the ball short of the goal line, the 20-yard line?
Yeah, I just thought we had a chance to go to the end zone, and try to cut back and just got hit. And I think right before I hit the ground, the ball came out. It's unacceptable. It can't happen.
You looking for one more block there?
Yeah, I was kind of cutting off the block, and I didn't want to slide there. Didn't want to slide there. I felt like we could get in the end zone. Trying to get a touchdown and go for it. They made a good play.
How tough was it to try to regain momentum after that play?
I thought we did a really good job of, regaining the momentum. We kind of responded really well. We had a chance, even late in the game, and, the interception just hurt us. It's just really 2 negative plays. I think that we felt like I was seeing it well. I thought the guys made some really good plays. I thought, guys were making great catches all night. I mean, Calvin, Pat, just different guys were catching the ball, making plays. I thought the run game was did a good job. I thought O-line was battling. We knew it was going to be a tough fight throughout the end, they made 2 plays on us that were significant plays. And unfortunately, I can't let that happen.
It was that 5-play sequence to start the fourth quarter. You guys get stopped, then you get the pick, and then they take it the other way.
Yeah.
Was that too much to overcome? Did that kind of change the whole thing?
Yeah, I think that definitely changed the game, when they got that interception. I thought defense did a good job of getting the ball back. I was trying to throw it to Pruitt's front number, and I felt like the ball just stayed inside, unfortunately, they made a play. The good thing about our football team is nobody, quit. We believed it the whole way through. There's still a lot of football left. We got to respond in the right way.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor Museum.
Now this is the best era. I couldn't agree more. Those teams were unstoppable.
The teams were really good in the 90s. Come on, you couldn't catch those teams of the 2000s. Literally.
The 70s were the best.
No way, the 2000s.
Whoa, stop fighting. I think every era was pretty sweet.
You said it, kid. I hope you guys enjoy yourselves.
Wait, you're T?
And so we're working on a short week, but we're working with an edge. We're honored and excited about competing on Christmas and being a part of that. But we're also excited about being in a big game against a really good team in our home venue and getting back to the business. And obviously our business is winning. And so that's where our focus is in terms of preparing ourselves and position